Hello friends, in today's video I am going to show you how I paint beautiful fall trees like this. I was experimenting with a little bit of a different kind of wetness on my layers, and this didn't quite work out so well, but this did, and I will show you how I painted these. So let's just go over the materials super quickly. I am using Arches watercolor paper and I am using my typical paints. I'm going to use a tiny little bit of opera pink, cadmium red orange, cadmium yellow, maybe a little bit of turquoise and indigo. Remember that with these three colors I typically mix my greens. Sometimes if I add a little bit more indigo, becomes a deeper green, and I am going to be mixing some of these colors as well with each other, but primarily using these two in its most organic pigment, original pigment. I am going to be using a soft brush. This is a Chinese brush, but you can use any soft brush that has a natural hair bristles work a little bit better for this technique. They just need to be really soft and hold a lot of water. I also have my clean water, and that's it. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I am going to go ahead and start with primarily my yellow, and what I'm planning to do is mostly, create three big shapes. So a big shape here, a medium shape, a small shape, or two small shapes, kind of like big, medium, small, and that is with like space in the middle, and that's basically what I'm going to try to start doing. So it's basically just blobs. So I'm just gonna start down here with my bigger blob, and remember to leave space in between so you eventually can put a little bit of branches in there. So it's just very loose approach. I'm gonna do my medium kind of right here, a little bit more yellow with ton of water because it's just very loose little blobs. My medium size, maybe this one I'll make it a little bit bigger, and this one a little bit smaller right here. Just very loose approach. Just maybe this one a little bit bigger. Beautiful. Now I am going to use my cadmium red orange, and I'm going to dab here. So this is my source light, so I'm going to try to keep my yellows in this area, like in this area looking this way. I'm going to try to keep my bright spots at the top. So again, a little bit more cadmium red orange with water, tiny little bit of this just to give it a little bit of variation. So it's just a whole bunch of little dabs basically. I'm trying to again remember to leave little holes here and there for your branches. Maybe a little bit more of this beautiful pink color because I think it looks really pretty. Just a little bit of a opera pink here and there for the outer branches. Beautiful. All right, now that I have my main light source, basically I'm gonna clean my brush entirely. And I know right now it looks like blobs, but I am going to clean my brush entirely, and I am going to do a mixture of cadmium yellow and a little bit of indigo, and that gives me a beautiful green color. So again, I'm just dabbing. I don't want my greens to mix too much with my orange because it becomes brown. So I'm just kind of dab here this green color a little bit more. So this is my shadow. So I'm focusing my green and my dark greens like down here in my shadow areas. And I'm going like this because it's a tree, so I need my leaves to be kind of organic looking. Okay, so that will be that for right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another one on this side while this dries. This needs to be fairly dry in order for me to do a secondary layer where I add a little bit more details like this. So, but it needs to be a little bit more dry. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing up here and to create like a composition, like a really nice fall, like autumn composition. Again, I'm focusing that my light is coming in from this way. So again, with my yellow, I am going to create my little blobs. So maybe I'll just go off the page here a little bit. Beautiful. And what I want to do also is I want to remain like focused and that my paper doesn't dry too much. So my shadows are on this side. So if I want to keep in mind that I want my paper to stay wet, so I use a lot of water. Beautiful. I think I'm going to use a little bit more pink right here. So a little bit of pink mixed with a little bit of orange. So it's not super pink. Beautiful. I just think it looks very pretty. This beautiful pink color. Beautiful. And now I see that this part is kind of getting dry a little bit, and that's okay, but I'm gonna kind of continue with my green before it completely dries. So it's just dabs, dabs, dabs. Beautiful. Now see how this is still wet? I'm going to add a deeper green, so I'm just adding a little bit more indigo to make sure that I am capturing my beautiful shadows. Especially down here where the trunk will live, here and there. Just little dabs, focusing kind of where these little openings are. And sometimes I do extra little loose leaves, basically. Beautiful. So now I'm going to let this dry a little bit more so I can move on to do that secondary kind of layer. Okay, so now that my layers are primarily wet, I am going to start adding a little bit more detail, just few little details, just not a lot. I am using a lot of water. I'm going to use a tiny little bit of my turquoise to create a different kind of green. And I'm just going to go ahead and just add little dabs here and there just to give it a little bit of texture inside of my leaves, but just a few dabs. So I'm dabbing green where green is is, and then I will dab a little bit of orange and a little bit of purple, kind of like this is the effect that I am trying to achieve. So just a few little dabs inside to give my tree a little bit more texture. And I can even do a little bit here on the outside just to give it a little bit more movement. Just a few little leaf dabs basically. Not a whole lot, just a few little dabs. I think that's fine. Now I am going to do the same thing. So I'm going to clean my brush entirely. And I am going to do the same thing with the orange, where I'm going to dab a few, a little bit more intense orange. And I'm going to do a little bit of shadows if I can, like here where my my little empty spaces are, and just a few dabs on the outside as well, like down here where my shadows exist on my orange side. Just a few little dabs. Beautiful. And down here, over here, my other tree. Beautiful. And the very last one that I'm going to do is a little bit more pink. So I'm using a little bit more pink and a tiny little bit of indigo to create kind of a purple color. And this will a little bit more add a little bit more depth to my tree. So basically I am doing these little purple ones that make it really pop and look very pretty. So not a whole lot, just a few here and there. I think it looks very pretty. But again, your choice. You don't have to go through this step. You can just leave it the way it was and it's gonna look absolutely gorgeous anyway. Okay, so I am done with the actual tree, the tree canopies, and now I'm gonna do the trunks. So because I don't like to use too many colors, I want to keep everything within the same palette. So a mixture of orange and blue is going to give you purple, and I like to add a little bit of this pink, but orange, maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow, and blue will give you brown. So now I have a beautiful brown mixture and I am using just the same colors. So now for the trunk of the tree, I'm gonna start somewhere down here. I'm gonna make a big trunk like this. And because this brush, the way it is, like it just creates a texture on its own. It's like a dry brush texture. And I really like it. So I'm just kind of dragging and making my branches. So just like that, maybe like that, just like this is a big chunky tree. And what I'm going to focus on also is putting them inside of my little empty spaces. Even a little bit more blue. And you can even like go past the canopy and like extend those branches out inside of the canopy, but not too much, just a little bit. But remember that these top canopies are held by this tree. So the branches need to be a little bit wider up here as well. Beautiful like that. And then just extend a few more little branches that will hold all the leaves basically up here, and then maybe I'll just like do another one that like just kind of extends out. beautiful. If you do a few little branches like in the middle, like that's fine. It makes it look a little bit more natural. And I like to sometimes add branches also on the outside. Makes it look, I think it makes it look a little bit more natural as well. So I'm going to do the same thing on this other one. Right here, but my tree is somewhere back here. So I'm just filling in with brown in my little empty spaces to give the appearance that there are branches inside. Beautiful. I think that turned out really pretty. You can add a ground to it, kind of like this, but I feel like I don't have the space for it. I drew my trees too far down. But that is okay. I have one last step that I like to do, and again, up to you, but you can add just with the indigo or like a very, very deep green, which is mostly gonna be indigo. Just very deep green, basically, if you have one handy. I like to add these extra kind of shadows in my tree that really help it pop. It's a very, very deep color of green. Really help it. See how it really takes those shadows down very deep in there. And I think it looks very, very pretty. So it's just a few extra wiggle lines with your soft brush. Especially where the trunks are, where they meet, it looks really pretty. Beautiful. Then just a few extra like leaves outside. Beautiful. All right, well, this is it. I really hope you enjoyed this super quick little tutorial on fall trees. Remember, the light is hitting that way and it just makes it really pop and look very light and fall-ish. All right, so I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me know if you want to see anything in particular, and I will try my best to accommodate. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.